Remember those statements? There's nothing new under the sun. Because the sun is your governor. You can't progress in a certain way. It's when you get into dark worlds that you can progress. Right now under the sun, it's all charted out. The ancients used to say things. People say things all the time, but they don't understand why they're saying it. They say it's nothing new under the sun. There isn't. Here is like a classroom. It's one of many under the sun where you learn to do or not to do, to be or not to be. The question is how you're going to be while you're in the physical body, which will determine what you're going to be when you leave the physical body. These are classrooms. These are lessons. Some people learn the hard way. But nevertheless, we will learn. And right now, those who have learned will progress. Those who haven't will soon be dead. You haven't seen death yet. And I'm not trying to brag about that. I don't want to see people die. Some people I wish weren't here. But at the same time, I don't want to see them die because you're making work for somebody else, especially if they leave here as ignorant as when they were born here. They're saying now that all kind of asthmatic conditions, you're getting also people allergic to almost everything, walking, talking, and moving. And allergies are growing. You don't understand why that is. All of these things are not by accident. There is a common denominator for all of this, but it is so way out, so different that nobody wants to believe it. So what we're going to do is not to break down each one of these things, but to look at an overall view which will explain almost all the things that you have seen. First of all, mankind on this planet can now make weather. I'll repeat that. Mankind on this planet can now make weather. Used to be, everybody talks about the weather, nobody does anything about it. They call it weather modification. It's been going on now for 40 years, and each year they're improving on their ability to micronize and to make weather, and usually they always make weather bad. For instance, if you could make a drought, and this is a place where you had floods, this would be good.
That's right.
If you had a floodplain and you could make a drought, this would be good. If you had cold weather that was killing people, and by getting a little warm, things could live, this would be good, and vice versa. They never send you what you think you want. They send you what they know you need. There was a report that came out from Iron Mountain about 1978. How many have heard about the report from Iron Mountain? How many haven't heard about the report from Iron Mountain? Let's talk about the report from Iron Mountain. It took 2.5 years to make. It paid $1.5 million to study the feasibility and possibility of peace on this planet. They actually studied this. The end result was that they said you cannot have peace on this planet. You must have a war every 15 to 17 years in order to control the population, the economy, and the means of production. Because of this, then, they stated that they also would suggest getting rid of 3.5 million people in the United States.
That's right.
And 5.5 billion people off the planet.
Right.
Want to hear those figures again? Get killed, whatever you want to do, of 3.5 million people here in the United States, and 5.5 billion off the planet herself. Say herself because metaphysics teaches this is a female planet. If you have diabolical, evil, whatever you want to call it, scientists to spend $1.5 million to tell you this is what they do, and then they also said in concluding chapters that to get rid of those people would be okay because most of them would be useless eaters and growing weeds, quote unquote. Useless eaters, in other words, all they do is eat, give back nothing, not worth it, fat, out of shape, sick, doing nothing else, so get rid of them anyway. But if not, use them as slaves because that's all they're good for. They're not good for anything else but taking up space on this planet. Now that is a heck of, to me, a decision for somebody to make. And especially since most of the people they call useless eaters were black, growing weeds were black. There were some white populations too. There were some brown populations too. There were some black populations too. But in the meantime, when they talk about the United States, you're talking about now so-called citizens of the United States who they felt that they had the right to weed out the population. It is these liars, it is these deceivers, it is those who would make you believe that they are gods when there is one creator, and they're very evil to do what they do, that makes you have to think that they have to make artificial energy because the creator was too dumb to give energy to a planet.